Good afternoon, everyone. I want to first thank you all for being with us today on this beautiful Thursday. My name is Emma Maynard, and I'm the Assistant Director of Alumni Relations for Career and Network Programming. I'm also a proud double Duke of JMU, having graduated in 2007 with my Bachelor's of Science in Sociology, and most recently with my master's degree in May in our AHRD program. We have a really great representation today of alumni joining this webinar, and I want to say thank you for participating and that your feedback will mean so much to us as we continue to provide this service to you. Today's webinar, Confessions of a Part-Time Entrepreneur, How to Gracefully Profit from Your Passion in the Digital Economy, is brought to you by the JMU Alumni Association. Before I introduce today's speaker, some brief housekeeping notes. If participating live, your microphones are muted for the presentation. We do have two chat options, though. You'll see a Q&A and then a chat feature. To ask a question of the presenter for the presentation, please choose the Q&A section and send to me, the host, and I'll make sure that your questions are addressed at the end of the presentation. You can also feel free to talk amongst each other using the chat feature. We'd also love to see you get on Twitter and tweet about this presentation and some cool, interesting tidbits that you find out from our presenter. And you can use hashtag JMUAAwebinar. This webinar is being recorded and will be accessed on our website under the Career and Networking section, then webinar archives within a week of this presentation date. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our presenter today. Brent Peterson is a two-time alumni of JMU, a full-time project management professional, and a serial part-time entrepreneur. He graduated from the College of Business in 1994 and then returned to graduate school at night to earn his MBA. In 1998, he was recognized as the top MBA student of his graduating class here at JMU. He then went on to earn an MS in Information Systems from the University of Virginia in 2000 and his PMP certification from the Project Management Institute in 2005. Brent embraces the value and responsibilities of full-time health, family, and employment. He believes all professionals should also share and profit from their respective passion in life. His mission through his online platform, gracefulresources.com, is to help other professionals gracefully profit from their passion in the digital economy. All right, Brent, take it away.
All right, thank you, Emma. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir, we can.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the generous introduction, and hello, fellow Dukes. It's always a humbling opportunity to speak to alumni from my favorite school, and thank you, Emma, for all your organization getting this together. So, you know, I am again humbled to be with everyone today. So let me kind of walk everybody through kind of my story a little bit. I'm very visual, so I want to sort of give you guys a sort of an engaging presentation. I'm not here to no death by bullet points. I promise you that. I do have some notes from this, and I'll show you how you can get a copy of the notes through my website as we go along. So again, I just want everyone to be engaged, have fun, and hopefully this will inspire you. It'll provoke your thoughts and ideas you have for a better future, and an exciting one at that. And I hopefully we will, of course, stay connected after today's webinar. So my journey kind of started on a beach, and this is actually a shot of members of my family at Emerald Isle down in North Carolina about 8 years ago. And for me and for a lot of entrepreneurs, you know, it all started with this infamous book, which you can still get through Amazon, of course, and I'm sure some folks on this call have read it. So, you know, the premise of the 4-hour work week is certainly very attractive. You're like, ooh, this would rock, you know. I only have to work for 4 hours and then otherwise just sit in a hammock or sit on the beach. But truth be told, the model is more about 4 hours of actual work and 36 hours of self-promotion. But it's certainly been kind of a key catalyst in the online world, and this book certainly is to blame, so to speak. So there I was sitting on the beach reading this book, and I get a call from my mother back home in Maryland, and she's like, "Oh, you got to help out your brother. He lost his job, and you've always been really good at getting getting new employment." And I was like, "Okay." So it was just kind of like the perfect storm. So from there, I actually created this product called Interview Angel, and this was a friend of ours who helped us out. So I actually designed this product for job interviewers to take into the job interview, and it's a resource that's still available. I'll kind of walk you through the story and some of the mistakes I've made along this particular journey. But this is really where it all started. So I created a physical product, and kind of started locally here in Richmond, like through some local events, and from there I did what every entrepreneur I assumed was supposed to do, is you got to get big. So where do you go? Well, you go to Vegas, right? So I took my show literally on the road to Vegas. Vegas, of course, being a big conference center in North America, and it was a good experience. Here's my wife, Eve. She's a fellow Duke as well. We actually met as undergrads, and we're married in 1998. And here I am, sort of in the convention space. I think this is at the Paris Vegas Hotel, and you can just like look at this sort of image and realize, wait. And for me, when I look at this, I just see all the costs adding up, because the banners, that 10 by 10 space, the shirts, everything just adds up. But when you've got a dream and you just want to kind of make it big and you want to make an impact, well, you just start doing what you think is right, which is start spending money, and spending a lot of money. We even had a contractor come in from Los Angeles. This was Valerie sitting there sort of demoing the product to somebody. This was actually the event itself was an event for college career professionals, and in fact, JMU had me come in and speak to students about 5 years ago, and so there is that connection as well. So Vegas then led to Nashville, because, if you can make it big in Vegas. So this just took me to another convention in Nashville. But at this time, I had an opportunity to actually be a guest speaker. But at this point, I kind of realized, what am I doing here? I've gone from the guy who read a book on a beach to create this product to help people get jobs, to heading off to Vegas and spending all this money to ship all these products, and then shipping it all the way back, and spending a ridiculous amount of money, which I didn't have, and just kind of building up my credit card debt just to, quote, make it as an entrepreneur. From Nashville then led me to Orlando, and again, what led me there is a sort of additional sort of speaking opportunities at this conference to my target audience. So I'm now like, okay, this is better than just a booth. Now I'm in front of an audience, and it was better than just being in a booth. The irony in my story is I went out to Vegas, went out to Tennessee, went south to Orlando, and there in Orlando, I met my first sort of big client, a university, which ironically was right here in my own hometown of Richmond. So I go to Orlando to make a connection with a career services director from the engineering school at VCU, and here's my products. And the School of Engineering became a big client for Interview Angel. So there I was, working with a print company here in Richmond to put together these great books and then delivering them to students. And the folks at the engineering school, really had a smart strategy, because they partnered with a local corporation, the Altria Corp, which is headquartered here in Richmond, and I branded my product with their name. So in other words, the students got the product because I was branding it with the business. So good business lesson there. And from there, I kind of realized I need a website, and everyone's like, oh, Brent, you got this great product, but how can people order it? I'm like, well, you got to call me. It's like, no, you need a website, and you need a blog. And I was like, what the heck is a blog? So I'm like, okay, I don't know how to do any of this website stuff, but it seemed like the right thing at the time, and go back to about 2009, everyone seems to be jumping on that bandwagon. So I hired somebody to create my website. I actually hired a designer, an old friend of mine from growing up in Maryland, who was a web designer for Disney, so she's very talented. But then she creates this design for my website and goes, and I'm like, okay, now what? She's like, well, now you need to hire a developer to actually, build it, into templates. And I'm like, you lost me. I have no idea what you're talking about. So I did that, and this was sort of a screenshot of my first website, which looked good, kind of a little dated now. It's not live anymore, but it was certainly another kind of pricey experience for me, because I went from paying a designer to paying a web developer, who then went AWOL, and then having to pay another web guy, and then they kind of ripped me off, and then I went to another web designer, and I just was like, okay, if this is how you make it in America, I'm not sure I've got the stomach for this, as my credit card debt continued to rise. So I started doing kind of some simple promotion, like put a license plate on the back of my trusty Subaru Outback to promote the product. From there, I actually decided, I'm kind of getting into this blog thing, so I started a blog called Stand and Inspire, which then led to another blog called Graceful Habits, which then led me to Colorado. And in Colorado, I was like, I want to figure all this out, because I just want to be a professional blogger and speaker, which then led me actually back to Orlando to go to a conference, and here's my wife Eve and two of our daughters who are older now, and then a third daughter who knock on wood is looking at JMU perhaps as a student next year. She'll be graduating this year from high school. But there I am, like, going from city to city, and I got back into that sort of very pricey habit of going from conference to conference and paying to go to these events. Now, I love to travel. It's great to be able to write off, expenses to these nice destinations, and certainly my family was happy to join me in Orlando. But again, I just was all over the place. So again, today's presentation is all about full disclosure as far as kind of the mistakes that I made. So hopefully, I'm dropping some seats where you're like, okay, remember what Brent said, don't do that, But at the same time, you have to dive right into the arena, and it's going to be expensive, and entrepreneurship is a very expensive curriculum. But you know what? It's a spectacular ride, and I do encourage it, provided you don't make the same mistakes that I did. So from this point, I was getting really frustrated with the whole web side of things, because I was continuing to work with people who would just disappear from my life, who didn't understand my requirements, who couldn't really manage their way out of their own house. And again, I'm kind of a project management snob, because by trade, as Emma mentioned, and certification, I'm a PMP. So to me, there should be a clear sequence to actually building a website, right? Start with clear goals, objectives, lead into requirements, manage a project schedule, manage your risks, test, and then deliver it. And then I realized, I can do this. I can learn how to do this. And for me, it started actually with my oldest daughter, and you can visit her website. It's Lily Peterson Photography. She does equine photography here in Central Virginia. And I just really got the hang of it, because again, I was tired of getting burned by other people in this space. And of course, the web was just blowing up, and it still is, and the opportunities are just spectacular. So I then started doing stuff for myself, and I said, I could start creating these landing pages and keep changing my name. And then it happened. It's kind of becoming more, I was sort of building up a reputation for doing web work here in Central Virginia. And then it happened. I get this email from one of the local Little Leagues, Atlee Little League. There might be some folks here on the call from the Richmond area who live in Atlee. Atlee is in the Mechanicsville area. It's a big community. The Little League itself has approximately 800 families. So it's a big deal. My youngest daughter, Sophia, plays in the league, and I'm one of the coaches as well. And I get this email to say, hey, we really need, this was their website. This is not their current website. And they said, we really need help with our website. let us know if you're available to talk with, you're the perfect person. I was like, yes, this is the moment, that moment where I kind of transitioned into kind of this sort of space, and I was just loving every moment of it. So I sat down with the president of the league, like a local restaurant, and this doesn't go back far. Now we're 2015, and before we start sort of the whole discussion about the website, and I already put together like a whole proposal about what I could do, I said, Jamie, I have to ask this question first. And he's like, yeah, sure, Brent, what is it? And he's like, well, how did you find out about it? Was it because of this website? Was it this person? Because, I got your email, it was so exciting. He goes, what are you talking about? And I said, well, you're the one who reached out to me to help you build a new website. And he's like, yeah, but I sent it to all 800 families, and you're the only parent who replied. I was like, oh, okay. But there's a great lesson in that those opportunities for you and for all of us are right in front of us. Just seize them, because you think, oh, in my case, I assumed it was for me, but it was sent out to everybody. But it's such a great lesson, because you think, and then when you see opportunities, we're like, well, everyone's going to reply to this. No, they won't. People are so distracted, they're not going to do it. So nevertheless, I was like, okay, I didn't, give him the truth about that, but he already figured it out, so it was kind of makes for a great story. So here is the new website, and kind of went from that just awful-looking website, which wasn't, importantly, mobile responsive at all. This is kind of a before and after shot. You can look on the left about what the league's website looked like when you brought it up on your phone. And truth be told, now it's estimated that at least 65%, 66%, two-thirds of all web traffic will come through your iPhone, through your Android phone, and if not that, then through your iPad or through a tablet. So that's the world we live in. Point being, your website needs to look like it was designed for mobile devices. But of course, if they go access your information through a browser, well, it needs to look pretty good too. So you can kind of see the big difference before and after. These are screenshots that I took with my phone. From this, kind of word started getting around. It's kind of ironic that this led to my next client, all the way in Wyoming. So not in Richmond, ironically, but through Wyoming, who said, oh my gosh, I saw what you did with that website. I forget, it was through some community that somebody saw it. So this was the Homeschoolers of Wyoming website. And I had a nice connection here, just ironically, because my wife homeschools our 3 daughters, but that's not why they reached out to me. They reached out to me because they saw what I did for my community. So this was their website, and this became their website. So I was like in the transformation business, and still am, and I'm just loving every moment of it. So this kind of hopefully kind of gives you a good idea about kind of my journey. And again, what does it look like on your phone? Before, on the left, pretty brutal, right? And what it looks like after. And as I'm going through this journey, I'm learning so much more about, the technology and the backbone between running websites and making them mobile responsive. And I'm just having a lot of fun. And I'm getting business, but I started to run into problems, and I'll start to get to my confessions there. But from here, it led me to another city, of course. I do like to travel, but I'm only now limiting it, for maybe about one or 2 trips a year. And for the record, of full disclosure, when I go off these trips, I'm using my vacation time out of my own sort of budget for my employer, because I have to, and that's the right thing to do. So I'm choosing to use my vacation hours to go to these business trips. Now, there's nothing wrong with going to Phoenix and other nice destinations, but it's kind of the life of the part-time entrepreneur, is that if you want those opportunities to go network, and we're going to talk about how important that is, certainly for fellow Dukes, sometimes you have to get behind your computer, you got to get in your car, you got to get on a train, you got to get on a plane, and you got to go meet people in person. And this is exactly what I did back in the spring. So from here, I went to the product launch formula. There may be some folks on the call who are familiar who Jeff Walker is. You can check out his book on Amazon called Launch. It's a good resource, but it's really taking sort of online business to another level in terms of having joint venture partnerships, doing these full-scale campaigns and launches and the like. And it was a good experience. I'll share lessons learned from this in a moment. But my next destination is Denver. I'm going out to Denver next month for the Digital Commerce Summit. And again, I'm doing it because I want to do it, because I want to make connections. And I want to sort of absorb these best practices and these tips so then I can share it out to my audience through my journal or my blog, and just continue to feed great information so that the folks who trust me and you know, kind of part of my community for free, that way they don't necessarily have to spend all this money to go out to all these conferences. I do enjoy doing it, but I definitely have to draw the line because I've went way too deep in debt. But my wife is coming out with me to Denver, and she's excited because one of her favorite bands is playing at this conference. So I was able to get her a free ticket to see Cake as well. So we're really looking forward to that. Long story short, it leads me back here to my little train town here north of Richmond in Ashland, Virginia. And Ashland, you know, is home, but it also, my eyes have just opened up to kind of what makes for a better story, what leads to a better journey, and how can I help other people. But again, I'm doing this all part-time. And I encourage you guys to follow sort of a similar path as far as don't quit your day job. So, you know, I'm having like crazy fun with the web and now designing these interactive forums and being able to just build these relationships and engage people through the web like you never could before. I think back to my first website, which I paid thousands and thousands of dollars for somebody to design, only to realize it was just got hammered with spam. It looked brutal on smartphones. It didn't sort of build relationships with people as far as getting their email addresses to build my list. We'll talk about that in a minute. But there's just so much more that's possible now, and there's going to be so much more a year from now and 2 years from now, and I just love staying on the pulse of it and sharing it out with other people. So without further ado, I promised this in the sort of promotion, or Emma promised it in the promotion for today's event, and that is, okay, let's start with the top 5 reasons to be a part-time entrepreneur. Number 1, this goes without saying, full-time employment has its benefits. None of this would have been possible if I didn't have a full-time job. I honor my responsibilities full-time. I don't let it overlap. All the work that I do on a part-time basis is done at night and on the weekends or early in the morning because my priority one is to my employer. And truth be told, you know, being full-time employed has a lot of benefits, and especially when you have a family and need to take care of them, and you have a mortgage to pay, and you know, health benefits and the like. And our youngest daughter had been diagnosed with a childhood form of epilepsy a few years back. She's doing great now, and when you see those medical bills and you look at what you're paying as a copay, you realize, oh, thank God I have a full-time job. Oh my goodness, it's huge. All right, number 2, the work that you do, and again, we're talking about work for you to do online. It's completely flexible. You know, you don't have to go, oh, well, I have to, you know, start at 9 a.m. and finish. No, I mean, whenever it works for you. And when I talk about full-time employment, I am very much inclusive of full-time moms. My wife's job, homeschooling our girls, taking care of our home, taking care of everything, is a lot harder than any work that I will ever do. So she's a full-time employee, no question about it. So certainly for folks who are in the audience today, you know, I don't want to think this is only for people who have, quote, full-time jobs. If you're taking care of children, if you're taking care of an elder, if you're taking care of your home, you have a full-time job, and your job is very, very hard. Number 3, the cost to entry being an online entrepreneur is lower than, say, what it used to be an entrepreneur. You don't need to sign a lease to rent a storefront on Main Street in your town and go, well, I hope this cafe is going to be a big hit. Yeah, but you're taking on a tremendous amount of risk just to get your doors open. Okay. That being said, the cost of failing is also much lower. You can invest in technology, invest in software, invest in courses, go to conferences, do all these things, and there are real costs, but at the same time, if it doesn't work out or you just realize, okay, this just isn't for me at this stage of my life, you can either just put it on hiatus, or of course you can just say, you know what, I gave it a college try, a JMU try, and it just didn't work out for me. But your out-of-pocket cost is nominal compared to what it costs to, again, start up a true sort of brick-and-mortar type business. Number 4, and this one has been the biggest surprise for me and the most rewarding one, is that taking this entrepreneurial plunge part-time has actually made me a better full-time employee. I've learned how to be a better communicator. I've learned how to better manage my time. I've learned how to do internal marketing. And there's such a need for that in today's large organizations. Oh my goodness, the entrepreneurs, the people, that may not be your job title, but if you have that entrepreneurial mindset, you become a more valuable full-time employee. So this one has been huge for me. I never saw it coming, and it's been such a blessing for me and certainly for my employer. And then number 5, someone's life depends on you. And this is I see this truck regularly. It's parked right out in the parking lot at the local YMCA here in Ashland. Now granted, the truck is from the Virginia Blood Services. You've probably seen a similar truck to this. But I want this message to hit home for you. What you do, what you know, what you're passionate about, there is somebody out there in Virginia, in Idaho, in Thailand, somebody needs what you know. There are people out there that are waiting for you to help them, and you know what? It's easy for you to help them because it's something you're passionate about. And for me, it's all been about this technology and applying my project management skills because, to me, this just comes natural. But until I went through the whole process of relying on other people and getting kind of ripped off and people going AWOL on me, and then realizing you don't really know what you're doing, do you? So I realized I can do this. And then I realized, oh my gosh, there are people out there who need now what I offer, but importantly, their life depends on you. So what I'm going to do over the next sort of part of our quick conversation this afternoon is I want to share with you some of their stories. So hopefully some of this will, again, inspire you to sort of take the plunge, or if you're already there, to perhaps kind of shift direction a little bit, and I certainly would love to be part of your journey as well. And as you can see here, you can get a copy of these notes and stay connected to me through that address. All right, without further ado, I know I can't see the crowd, so here hopefully folks are staying engaged. And again, copy of these notes, you can get them off my website. Let's keep going. All right, confession number 1. Again, these are all confessions because I've made all of these mistakes. You know, I am here to just put it all out there, pull back the curtain. I never want to position myself as some sort of super entrepreneur, guru, anything like that. I'm just like you guys. I'm JMU grad. I make mistakes. I do some things right. I've been very successful in some areas, and I've been a huge failure in other areas. And I'm going to continue to stumble throughout this journey. So I just want you guys to know my journey doesn't stop until I stop. So it's fun, but it's not all roses. But here's the first confession that I'll make, and I want this lesson to hit home for you guys. Your passion, again, is someone else's pain. You have to keep learning. That's why I keep investing in courses, I keep going to conferences, I keep participating in webinars just like this, because I don't have all the answers. None of us do. So whatever it is you're passionate about, find out the great sources, the thought leaders in your area, and please keep learning. So when I kind of started out the whole website business, I was envisioning the successful entrepreneur who's got his own business, but of course he wants to have some free time playing golf and doing all these things. So again, this is my customer in my mind. The truth of the matter is, this is my customer. This is my lead. This is my client for the most part. It's not male. It's female, and it's somebody whose life is just crazy because of work and home and kids and husbands and just crazy demands on her life. This is more of my customer. Now, I do have some clients who, of course, are men, but for the most part, they're women. And they're actually, kind of, we'll say, middle-aged, if you will, Gen Xers like myself. So it's kind of funny. You get this impression in your head about who it is your customer is, but until you start doing this, you stop talking and you start asking questions. And when you stop talking, start asking questions, you'll discover the pain that other people are experiencing in their lives. And you realize, oh my gosh, I can help you. And this is really where it all begins for this sort of transformation. This is Elva Edwards. You can kind of see her sort of business card, if you will, in the bottom right. Elva Edwards is someone I'm now helping, a new client of mine. She's based out in Colorado. And she's a chiropractor her whole life. She's been very successful. But she's got a story to tell, and she wants her legacy to share her story as being orphaned with people all over the world. So I'm now helping to bring her story to the world. And if you sign up for my journal through the link that I provided, you're going to hear more about her story, and you'll kind of see the transformation happen. But in Elva's case, about 60 years ago, her parents were driving home one evening with her and her siblings at home, and their vehicle, and you can see a picture of it in the top right from the newspaper down in Texas, was just crushed, and her parents were killed instantly. 5 adults were killed that night in Texas, and they were hit by bootleggers who were driving at night with their lights off because of all the the liquor board police were out there back in the day. She doesn't care. She had been orphaned before she even turned 1. Her sisters have been orphaned, and in total, 12 children were orphaned that night. And Elva wrote a book that we're going to help sort of tell her story through her blog, and she's going to have like an online membership area. And again, she's serving other adults who were orphaned as children, a very specific niche, and one that she wants to make that impact for her. So this is Elva's story, and it's because I'm listening and I'm here to help. And the first thing she just goes to me, she's like, okay, Brent, all this technology stuff, she's like, look, I'm 62 years old. I got no clue. I know my story. I know I want to help people, but that tech stuff just scares the heck out of me, and that's why I'm helping her. Confession number 2, and that is you have to design solutions based on your customers' pain or your target customers, but you also design solutions based on margin and scalability. Because if you don't do this, you can't fund your passion. And without money, your dream will be nothing more than just a dream. And it could turn into a very pricey hobby, but I don't want that to be the case for you guys. I want you to be successful, and I'm here to tell you it's good to earn money. And if you don't turn a profit, if you don't at a minimum break even, I promise you, you're going to burn out and you're going to quit because it gets pricey. And you've got other bills to pay, and I want you guys to be successful. So in my case, with this Interview Angel product, it was a physical product. Okay, was it scalable? Yes, in the sense that I worked with a local print shop here in Richmond that could mass produce these. They could get these particular portfolios at a huge discount. But then something happened. My friend's print shop business went out of business. And these nice little portfolios, which he got at like crazy, at cost, through the warehouse off the James River, I couldn't get them anymore, and had to switch products to this nicer portfolio through Rolodex, because for me, quality and experience, they're critical parts of it. But guess what? Now my margin on my product was just cut big time because I'm selling a physical product. So again, I created a product definitely based on a pain of students and working professionals who needed a job. I still sell this product to universities. The digital version of it you can get through my website. But again, good hits the pain point, but lousy on the margin. Like I got to sell a lot of these to kind of come out ahead. And scalable, not very well, because I have to rely on other people for the production side of this. So again, full confession on this lesson learned. Let's keep moving here. Number 3, confession number 3 is you don't know where your leads are and where your clients are. I don't necessarily know. Some of them may be right here participating in this webinar, and that's awesome. But you know what? I just have to continue to experiment with points of introduction, and so do you. You can't just rely on, oh, well, Brent, I'm real active on Facebook. I got a huge number of fans. I'm big on Instagram. Well, my daughter's huge on Instagram. I think she has like 36,000 followers on Instagram. But the reason she sells her photographs from horse shows is because she makes connections with people at the horse shows. She hands out her business cards. And again, she's 17 years old, but she has created a system and she's developed a good reputation because she's actually out there and she's making connections with people actually at the shows. That being said, come back to Phoenix. So when you're at a big event like this, and I'm sure some of you can relate, you know, you kind of have those big sort of everyone gathers in the big conference room, and then finally you get a break. And I actually had opted in or paid for or upgraded, if you will, for the the VIP suite, which means that when you go on breaks, you then go into a room where you get complimentary, coffee. I'm like, yes, more coffee, and drinks and snacks, and you get to make great connections with future clients and business partners. I'm like, that's perfect. So we'd break, and this is like a three-day event, and then I'd go into the VIP lounge and the like, and then I'd come back after the break, and I'd feel worse than when we went on the break. And the reason is this: I'm an introvert, and being in a big room like this, in a big crowd, is really draining for me. So when we go on a break, I just want to go outside by myself and just breathe. And I realized that when I go into a quote lounge, it's actually even more stressful because now I have to, quote, work the room. So, only through these experiences do you kind of realize, wait a minute, this is not good for me. It depends on your personality. Some people, are extroverts, will just, more people, energize them. For me, I love people. I love working with people. I don't even mind getting in front of a live audience. I just need time to, just sort of breathe and just, recharge. So full confession there. So this is Valerie Baker. How did I meet Valerie Baker out in Phoenix? It's because one of my clients, who's an author in New York and a Harvard grad, this was her roommate in Phoenix, and we were just sitting down at dinner, started talking about what she does. She's also up in the New York area, also an Ivy League grad, and she's got this great website, valeriebaker.com. I didn't design her particular site, but she was like, Brent, I'm trying to make a stronger, more engaging contact with the visitors to my website. So I designed this interactive form called inchargequiz.com, and you can check it out. It's really good. But I just want to share this example with you so that you can see what's possible with technology today. So it's just a great example of, again, a connection I made. Why? Because I was having dinner with somebody, not because I was working the room. And just last, sort of another tip here, I just always want to hopefully drop some seeds with you guys that'll help you out, is this great advice from John Maxwell. You probably know who that is. And again, you don't have to be an expert. All you have to do is just ask questions. And here's a surprising tip when you're working a room: ask for help, because, boy, people love to ask for help. And more than that, people love giving you advice. So just ask for advice. It's the best way to network. All right, confession number 4 is online. You have to make your objective really clear, because in today's day and age, less is more. So for all the Dukes on the phone, and you've lived in Harrisonburg for a while, you're probably familiar with Glenn's, right? Glenn's Fair Price Store. Okay, this place is crazy, and I haven't been there in like 20 years, so I think it's still there, and maybe someone can send me a note to confirm it if it is. But this is like the go-to place to get Halloween costumes. But oh my gosh, this place is just total chaos. Glenn's Fair Price Store in Harrisonburg, Virginia is like most websites today, absolute chaos. This is an example of absolute chaos. Now, one of my clients didn't do her website. We're changing it. Rita Gilman is a professional softball pitching coach right here in Hanover County, And her website is an absolute mess. She knows it's an absolute mess. We're transforming it, and I'm going to be telling her story through my blog as well. And this is what that website is going to look like in a couple weeks. And it's just a total transformation. Make it real easy for parents of softball students to find what they're looking for as far as buying products from their online store. We've integrated with a Shopify account, but also to do lessons. And their lessons, Rita Lynn Gilman and her team, they speak for themselves. And in fact, one of their students was Jalen Ford, who just graduated from JMU, and if you watched her on ESPN, it's an All-American pitcher. She was just drafted number 3 in the Fast Pitch Professional League, and she's a student of Rita Lynn. So again, great stories. I love the connections for JMU. Confession number 5. You have to preview, you have to demonstrate your expertise every single week. I didn't get this. I think, oh, well, blogging, yeah, okay. No. This is the world we live in. And here's the truth. We all get how entrepreneurs who are offline think and work. Here's a photo I took at the homeschooling convention in Richmond, Virginia, earlier this summer. This is the largest convention in the entire Commonwealth. Homeschoolers, there's a huge market for homeschoolers. But what I love about going to this convention is these entrepreneurs who are marketing to homeschoolers, they get it. They really get it. So these are the Brett Beckers from down in Georgia. What do? They have food samples right there at their booth. Imagine that. You smell it, you taste it, and you want to buy their products. They get it because that's just the world we live in. People like to test, to sample what you have. So please let this lesson stick hard for you. And you look at software today, what are they doing? They're making their products available for you to preview before you buy. Rainmaker Platform is the software I use to sort of as the foundation for my website. If you sort of opt in for the notes from today, I have like a tech guide. Some of you may already have it. So you'll get it twice, but you won't be added to my list twice. You'll just already be on there once, but you also get the notes from the presentation today. I provide kind of a full review of all the software tools that I use to run my own business and the ones I recommend for my clients. This one is the foundation for it, and I provide a full review about it, so I encourage you to check it out. It's called the Rainmaker Platform. But again, the message here is they won't even take your credit card for 2 weeks. They just want you to try it out because they know if we don't let people taste test what we have to offer, they're probably not going to sort of take the proverbial plunge as far as whipping out their credit card. But full disclosure, here's the 2 reasons I fell off the blog wagon. I hope you don't. Is I never really put it into my schedule. If it's not on your calendar, let's be honest, it doesn't get done. I follow that rule by day with my, right now I'm on my lunch break, of course, but I follow this by day and, as far as putting stuff on my schedule to get it done, but I wasn't putting, like, writing on it because I'm like, oh, I'll just find time. No, you won't. And then the second confession is I just overthought the whole process. You know what? I'm a recovering perfectionist. I was like, oh, it has to be the perfect post. It's like it's a blog. A blog means a web log. It doesn't have to be fancy. Please don't repeat the mistakes I made. No one's going to care that you have a typo in your blog post. What they care is, are you an authority on whatever it is that you're talking about, and then whatever it is that you're selling. You have to use this. This is the most authentic, the most organic way to market your business online. Yes, you can pay for Facebook ads. Yes, you could do Google ads, and if you can get a good ROI on that investment, then continue to do it. But if you're not blogging or podcasting or doing webinars, you're not going to make your mark. And it's easy, and it is free. Now, granted, it does involve your time, and you can sort of tweak it and optimize it for search engines, and I teach people how to do that through my blog and the like. But you really need to do this, so please don't repeat my mistakes. Put it on your calendar. If you do it once a week, that's awesome. If you do it twice a week, you're going to see a huge uptick in traffic from Google onto your website. And if you hit 3 times, it's going to go crazy. These are just the facts. It works. Okay. That all being said, I have no excuses because I'm not you know, a working mom with an infant in one hand and a keyboard in front of me. So again, all my excuses are lame. Quickly, confession number 6 is you have to automate your connections. This is the huge mistake that I made starting with my first website, my second website, my third, my fourth, now my fifth, is I always tell my clients now that when people come to their websites, they need to do one of two things, either buy something or opt into their mailing list. And if they don't do either, then their website is failing. Now, the only reason that we wouldn't want that to be the case is somebody ended up on their website by accident. But if they ended up on Elva's website because of her story and her experience and how she can help adults now who have been dealing with being orphaned their whole life, then we've failed. If somebody goes to Valerie's website as far as her, and she helps female entrepreneurs. She's a professional psychologist. She's a PhD from Columbia in that. So she knows her stuff, but you have to automate your connection. Here's another example. It's a client of mine. He's out in Aspen, Colorado. He's a best-selling author. Evan Zislis, great guy. He wrote this really cool book called Clutter-Free Revolution. You should check it out on Amazon. I think the book right now may actually be free for folks who have like that Amazon Unlimited. But I just worked with him to create this 3-step guide. Again, this is kind of an incentive. It's called a lead magnet in web building speak. But we're just keeping it real simple. So right now, if you go to clutterfreerevolution.com, you'll see this page. This is a page I designed for him. And you have one option, and one option only. Either opt into Evan's list, or you leave. And we keep it real simple. And he now has like a guest column on Huffington Post, and he puts a link to this page at the end of each post. And his email list has only been, we've only set this up, we've only had this live for 1 week, and it's just like it's exploding because he's keeping it simple, and it's all about automating the process. So once you opt in, I'm kind of pulling back the curtains for you here. When you opt into Evan's list, it then auto-generates this welcome message to download your free guide. You're looking at a screenshot of a tool I use called ConvertKit. That's in the tech guide that I'll provide to you if you want it with a full review. I love this software. Oh my goodness, it's actually, you know, intuitive. It's not completely easy to use. I'm here to help you, but it's just the coolest thing, and it just shows you what's possible when you kind of connect kind of an opt-in screen, which is nothing more than that right now, to getting people on your mailing list, sending them a welcome message, and then keeping the conversation going. You have to do that. Your mailing list is the greatest asset you will ever own as an online entrepreneur. And I'm here to tell you, it took me like 6 years to figure that out. So full confession, that's what today's all about. I've made my fair share of mistakes, and hopefully you won't as well. So that leads into my last confession. This one's big. That in today's day and age, and this is like marketing 101. So you guys probably remember this from classes at JMU, of course. Is really most things need some degree of scarcity for people to basically stop procrastinating. And we all get this, right? I mean, Kohl's gets this. Why do you think they send us our Yes Passes and our extra 15% off and extra 30% off now through Sunday only? Because they're creating scarcity. You have to act now to get that extra 30%. Kohl's knows that. That's why they're a very successful Fortune 500 company. When you buy a ticket to a concert, okay, that's all about scarcity, right? There's only so many seats available in the arena for you to see Mumford & Sons, which is my favorite band, or other bands, right? Take a look at this screen, right? The timer at the bottom right, so I highlight it there. There it says, buy these tickets before time runs out. And they even put a timer on your screen. Oh my goodness, talk about scarcity. You got 3 minutes and 19 seconds to buy these tickets to see Mumford & Sons, or someone else is going to get them. This is scarcity 101. It's everywhere if you look for it. But guess what? You need to create scarcity as well. Now, there's multiple tactics for doing it. That conference I went out to in Phoenix, it's all about scarcity, like saying, well, I'm only going to make my course available once or twice a year. You better join in now or you miss out. They're doing it because it's scarcity. The course could be available 24 hours a day, but they're creating scarcity. there's a solution out there called Deadline Funnel. I've been in touch with a developer down in Florida about this, and I'm going to be putting his software to test. So for folks who are on my mailing list, and again, if you opt in to get notes, you'll automatically be on it. But you can get the notes from today's presentation and the tech guide and then just unsubscribe tomorrow. That's entirely up to you. I don't have a problem with that. But if you stay on board, I'm going to be talking about this solution and other solutions because I want my community to be aware of what's possible. So this really smart entrepreneur down in Florida has created this unique software that basically puts scarcity into a unique tag into every single person who's on your mailing list, not in a schemy kind of way, but in an authentic way, in the same way that Ticketmaster is setting a 3-minute deadline for you to buy the tickets to see Mumford & Sons. It's the world we live in. I'm not saying you have to do this. I'm just here to tell you to grow your business, you're going to need to introduce some degree of scarcity into everything that you do. Okay. Take a breath. So I know we've only got like 10 minutes left, so I've run through the quick sort of confessions. But in the end, you have a gift to share with the world. I know it. If you went to JMU, you're like a rock star in my eyes. You're pretty smart people. I want you guys to be successful, but you have a big problem. I have the same big problem, and that is you get distracted. This is a great sign right at the YMCA for me down the street. I took a picture of it, in that you could go left to Narnia, you can go right to Pandora, left to Hogwarts, and you can go north to Neverland, and you're never going to get there because you keep getting distracted. And technology is the same way. So let me kind of lead into this great like 2-minute video. So let's give it a second to load. And I think this really hit home for me when I first heard this at a conference. I want to share with you today. And I include a link to this video in the presentation notes.
For a total of 8,477 days. If we're lucky, some of that time we'll be sleeping next to someone we love. We will be in the process of eating, drinking, or preparing food for 1,635 days. We'll be at work, hopefully doing something satisfying, for the equivalent of 3,202 of those days. 1,099 days will be spent commuting or traveling from one place to another, maybe a little bit more if you live in LA. On average, we will watch television in one form or another for a total of 2,676 days. Household activities like chores and tending to our pets and shopping will take another 1,576 days. And we will care for the needs and well-being of others, our friends and family, for 564 days. We'll spend 671 days bathing, grooming, and doing all other bathroom-related activities. And another 720 days will go to community activities like religious and civic duties, charities, and taking classes. After we remove all those beans, this is what remains. This is the time that we have left. Time for laughing, swimming, making art, going on hikes, text messages, reading, checking Facebook, playing softball, maybe even teaching yourself how to play the guitar. So what are you going to do with this time? How much of it do you think you've already used up? If you only had half of it, what would you do differently? What about half of that? How much time have you already spent worrying instead of doing something that you love? What if you just had one more day? What are you going to do today?
So sorry about the audio component there. My apologies. Again, I have a link to it in in the presentation notes if you want to watch it again. I love it. Oh my gosh, every time I watch it, I start crying. So, okay, I'm good. But in the end, I'm going to come back to what the good folks at the Virginia Blood Services already know, and that someone's life depends on you. It could be your spouse, your partner, your son, your daughter, your parents, a friend, somebody you've never met, okay? And I meet new people, you know, online, virtually, so to speak, every day. And to me, it's just when I'm feeling down and I'm just feeling like, you know what, I don't have anything left in me, when I meet people like Elva and Valerie and Evan, I'm like, this is why I'm doing it. I can solve their pain. Their life depends on me because they can't get their message out without me. And they depend on me. And it's very humbling, and I just want this to hit home for you because what you know is so important to somebody out there. All right. So to recap, we had three takeaways from today, again, in the show notes. Anyone, everyone should share their passion with the world. That includes you, Dukes. Number 2, the opportunities for success and connection have never been greater. It's spectacular how quickly it's moving. I love it. I'm going to be amazed what's going to be available 6 months from now. But number 3, the entries are low, but there are real costs. And I provide sort of a summary of those software costs on my website and through my mailing list. So I don't want anyone to think, oh, well, this is free and you can, no, it's not free. And if you go real cheap, you're going to sort of pay the price. And I pay the price going the cheap route and then overpaying for people who I trusted and took advantage of me. So, Emma, that's it. I apologize that I only gave you like 4 minutes left, but I can stay on if need be.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much. I always think it's really cool to hear other people's stories, and I think a lot of us can really relate to that whole trial and error component of just figuring out life and our careers and our passions. But maybe through the confessions that you shared, we can hopefully skip that trial and error process and jump right to success a little faster. We do have a couple questions that came in. We had a question about, do you have any advice for finding a balance between a full-time job, family, and then having your own business on the side?
Yeah, I mean, I'll sort of reiterate kind of what's hit home for me is you have to look at your calendar. I mean, pull it out on your phone. That's probably the easiest way to stay tabs on it and block time on your calendar and block time for your family and block time to go to the gym and block time to have fun and, of course, block time for your employer. And you know what? Once you do that, you're going to discover there still is time. That being said, you will have to make choices. I've had to make choices. I don't, you know, with the exception of, let's see, Wednesday night so I can watch the Goldbergs in the middle, I don't watch television. But I'm a sports addict, and I love baseball, so it's really tempting. But you know what? If it's not on my calendar, I have to say no.
I think, yeah, again, we can all relate to that. I think we're all pretty glued to our calendars and keeping ourselves organized. So a second question, what would it take for you to abandon the day job in order to pursue that entrepreneurial passion, I guess, full time?
That's an awesome question. I haven't reached that point, but it's actually not a specific goal of mine per se. At the same time, I know that if I continue to do things right and learn from my mistakes and share those lessons with other people and learn from their stories and share those out, my sort of side gig, so to speak, will continue to grow, and it is. Will it reach a point where it could, quote, replace or match my day pay? It could. It probably will. But again, that's not my goal. Again, hopefully I've kind of outlined kind of the benefits of full-time employment. But at the same time, some people are in jobs that just aren't a good fit for them. It's just draining for them, and you want to do something different. Everything that I talked about today is very much applicable for you, but you have to start one step at a time. And if you have a day job and you hate your day job, don't quit your day job. Start something on the side. I'm here to help if you want to sort of share the journey with me, but continue to do things right, take things one step at a time, and just see what happens. But if you don't start somewhere, you know, kind of on the side, then it's not going to emerge into something that could conceivably, and it has, I know a lot of people, it has turned into something, you know, where it has become their full-time work.
Right,
So
it's kind of that mountain in the distance, and I think that can conquer a lot of the fear that some people may face as well when they think about making a jump. And if they kind of follow your advice, kind of these, you know, taking some initiatives and steps towards that, that may be a more effective path for that individual. And then we have time for one more question. This individual wanted to know how you learned your web design and development. Are you entirely self-taught on that? And if so, what sort of learning platforms maybe did you use? They're also curious if maybe you learned everything through your master's program at UVA.
Well, the answer to that question is no. But thanks for asking. So the short answer is I learned by doing. I've not ever invested in a sort of a program, whether it's a community college, tech school, online course as far as my web design work. I just sort of self-taught myself, transitioning into kind of a WordPress as the foundation for it. The Rainmaker platform runs on WordPress as well, so it's sort of familiar for me, and I know what's possible, and it's very secure. And again, going back to my experience with the first website, which wasn't done in WordPress, I paid a designer to do the nice sort of look and feel, but then I'd hand it over to a designer who coded it like in like SQL database, and it got crushed, absolutely crushed as far as hackers. And believe me, your if you're not seal it up so tight, your website will get hammered in an evening. You'll be shocked, but that's the world we live in. It's an ugly world out there. You have to protect yourself. So, you know, I did my homework, talked about people who I trusted, get their advice about what websites they were using as far as platform. But in the end, I just decided, you know what, I went to JMU twice. I went to UVA. I'm a smart guy, at least that's what my mom tells me. And I just set out to learn how to do it myself. And it took time. I've now, Graceful Resources, you can kind of see the output of it. That's my full confession, that's my fifth WordPress website I've done. You don't want to see the other ones I did. I took them down. But they got better and better, but it took a lot of time. You know, one thing that I'm kind of planning to offer is, you know, kind of an online web design sort of course for my community. You know, and again, I would offer it not because there's not other options out there through your local school, tech school, other folks, is in the end you have to decide, I like how Brent sort of thinks. He's a Duke. You know, I trust him. I want to learn from him. And in the end, that's what it's all about. Same case for decisions I make every day with other people. But in terms of the tech skills, I just trial by fire. A lot of trial and error, a lot of trial and error.
That's good. Yeah, again, I think a lot of us can relate to that. Well, Brent, this has been a wonderful presentation, and on behalf of the JMU Alumni Association, I want to thank you for your time and your insight, and all of our listeners today. And I hope that everyone will join us for our next webinar, and that's going to be How to Live and Lead with Your Lights On with our 2002 JMU alumna, Shana Hammond, and that will be on Thursday, October 20th at noon EST. So Brent, thank you again, and our listeners, you see Brent's website up there where you can access the presentation notes and tech guide. So definitely check that out. And this webinar has been recorded and again will be available on our website shortly. So again, I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and thanks again, Brent, for your time. Bye-bye.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you, Emma. Thanks, everyone.